Okay, so welcome to another tedious and poorly produced episode of Colin's Guides to the EVA1. This is a guide for the post workflow of the EVA1. Particularly want to look at using the external recorders, most basically the Atomos Shogun Inferno, although some bits will apply to all external recorders when recording video. So first up, basic workflow. I'm going to look at initially workflow in DaVinci Resolve, also looking at ACEs, and then I'll take you through workflow in Adobe Premiere and Final Cut, FCPX. The main aim is just to make sure you're having consistent color across however you decide to record the information from the camera and the sorts of information you have. So we'll also be looking at Raw to ProRes, Raw to Avid DNX, ProRes Raw, all of that. I have basically put together a little project with featuring various different approaches to recording the stuff from the camera. A lot of what you'll see is stuff like this, so it's basically the same frame over and over again, which is a 4K RAW, a 4K. It's basically just a high dynamic range frame. Sorry, that it goes from extreme black down here to just below clip up here. And I used when shooting internally, I used the 1.4 times digital zoom so that we would take the 4K center cut of the sensor, so that just so the image matches the 4K crop that you might want to do if you're doing CD and G, just in case people wanted to look at CD and G workflow, then most of the shots will match. I've also included something a bit more normal looking, so I guess, and you know, I'm kind of treating it as if we just dumped the footage in and put together a little editing of our footage. We haven't done any of the colouring yet. I mean, I guess first thing is, like, this is an internal file. I actually, for a test, I was looking at the smooth noise reduction, but you know, the basic thing is you know, if you're working within the standard way RGB in ProRes Raw, you can download, you import your footage and you can just apply a correction. Like, you can either apply the standard Panasonic Vlog to V709 Varicam LUT and give you something like that, and you can apply that at the individual clip level, or you can apply it on a single node. Or the other option is you can download one of the Varicam LUTs from the Varicam LUT library, the Panasonic Varicam LUT library. So once you download them, you have this massive selection. A very popular one is the nicest 709, which you can see here. And if I go to Safari, you can see this is the Panasonic Varicam LUT library. You can explore various different looks and how they'll look. Obviously, if you're also in Resolve, you can have a look through the LUT library as well. Just rolling over it will give you samples of the various different looks that you might want to try, so on and so forth. That's very basic. I'll also take you through ACEs workflow later on. Let's just disable that now. But like I said, the main thing here that I want to look at is consistency. So going back to our rather dull chart, the reason I brought this up is, as you can see, this is how a vlog should look. Vlog's quite a flat profile. It doesn't go all the way to the top of the 10-bit range, and doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the 10-bit range. This is the complete range of tones that you'll be able to capture with the camera and with the vlog. But it's worth noting that the vlog is designed to work for extended range video. So what you'll find is if you record to externally, say via the video output, HDMI or SDI video, to ProRes specifies extended range video. So it kind of assumes, the Resolve will automatically assume, as will most of the programs, that you're actually recording in a much narrower range, and then it expands the file. So you can see here, it expands it to fill that narrow range. It assumes it's in narrow range. So the first thing you note is if you record anything to ProRes externally, then gamma is wrong. It doesn't quite match. As you can see here, if you're recording raw, CD&G, Resolve debayers it correctly to the extended range, and you get matching, automatically get matching gamma. But if you go to ProRes or to AvidDNX, you'll end up with the wrong gamma. That is very easy to correct. All you need to do is you either go back to your edit page and go to clip attributes and change the data levels from auto to full. Do that, you'll see the gamma change here. And now you'll see that the gamma matches. Don't have to do it in the edit page, you can do it in clips. Here, just right click, and here, clip attributes, the same thing, just change from auto to full. You also just select all, right click, should be able to, and do somewhere around here. Oh, it looks like you can't do it in the media page, but you certainly can if you're on the edit page. Right click, click all, clip attributes, and you can change it for everything. This checkbox here will allow you to change for everything. Anyway, so that's fairly simple. If you're doing AvidDNX, or if you're doing HDMI or video to ProRes or AvidDNX, you can make your gammas match fairly easily. This goes a bit brighter. I think it's actually to do with the noise. There's more noise in the raw output than the internal. It's very slight. Noise reduction applied on the internal footage. Right, anyway, moving on to RAW. So one of the things you might want to do is you might want to take the RAW output of the camera and convert it, instead of to a RAW format like ProRes Raw or CD&G, you might want to convert it straight to ProRes. For example, with EVA1, you only get 8-bit 420 and 2K for the 2K, 240 frames per second internal. So you might want 10-bit 240K. And the way you do that would be take the 2K raw crop mix out and record it to the Shogun. Now you can either record that as ProRes Raw, or if you don't want to deal with ProRes Raw, you might want to record it straight to QuickTime to ProRes. Then you'll have 10-bit ProRes 422, 240K, 240p, but then you'll have this issue. So you can see the gamma is totally wrong. You're like, what the friggin' hell has gone on here? What you can see is that basically with the raw output of the camera, with the internal output, as I said, that they use the vlog, which uses quite a narrow range of 10-bit data values, whereas the raw output uses the full 10-bit range of data values. They're really trying to give you the most tonal detail in there as you can, and then Atomos just take that full range and whack it into the ProRes file. So you end up with a problem where it's a match. Now, facing this, there might be a couple of things you might do. You might go, oh, well, I know about this ProRes issue, so I'll just go to clip attributes and go to from auto to full, and you'll go back and, oh, it's changed, but you know, it still doesn't match. It's closer, but it still doesn't match. The other thing you might do, that's assuming you hadn't already done that, is you might have gone to the Atomos website. When you uploaded your firmware, you noticed that there was this Panasonic Raw to Vlog correction LUT. It says Atomos must maintain the native Panasonic LUT and do not convert to Vlog to the unit currently. So you think, well, I will just download that, and I will apply the Panasonic LUT to my footage, and that should correct it so that I'll apply it to my LUT, and that will correct it, and everything will be hunky-dory. There we go. There's 3 options, any one will do. and you'll go, what the hell is going on here? All of my blacks have disappeared and my whites have been crushed. What's going on? Why is this not working? I thought it was supposed to work. It's fine. Don't bang it. The issue is that this, despite the fact that the Atomos doesn't record full range QuickTime video, the Atomos LUT expects full range video. So go back to data levels, go from auto to full, and then with the LUT attached, you will find full data levels and the LUT that everything matches apart from the additional noise you're having in the RAW, because there's no noise reduction done in camera. Turn the LUT off, bye-bye, everything's wrong, LUT on, it's right. So that is how you deal with RAW to ProRes. Now, one thing you can do with the Atomos Shogun Inferno is you can actually burn that ProRes LUT in as a recording LUT. And that saves you a bit of bother, because you'll see that it's starting to look a bit closer to Vlog. It does not, however, match perfectly. You see, how can I get, so this one, the HMA to ProRes are actually would have been correct, because I've already changed that the clip attributes for edit file. So this is correct, and then if you compare with the one with the ProRes LUT in, you'll see that the gamma is still wrong, but again, it's ProRes file. So once again, you have to go to clip attributes and click full. As I showed you before, you can just change everything at once, so the easiest thing to do is probably just to go straight there, clip attributes, click full, and change everything all at once, and then you don't have to do it individually. But anyway, the point is, once you've changed those clip attributes, things match with the ProRes LUT burnt in. So if you want to save yourself the bother of having to burn in the ProRes, I mean, it's not quite perfect, then you can do that. Here's another example without the LUT on, so that I've done this deliberately so that I can show you that if you apply the ProRes LUT in post, then it's pretty much exactly the same as if you burn it in whilst recording. You'll get a match. I mean, it looks like there's a slight difference when slight raising of the shadows when you're down here. There's a slight raising of the shadows when you're burning it in, or maybe when applying the LUT, but I mean, it's not much difference. But there we go. Like, once you've done that, you can go through, once you've changed all your clip attributes to full and apply the ProRes LUT to the stuff that you've done to raw to ProRes, your 2K 240p or 4K raw crop if you want to do that for some unknown reason. Personally, I would take the 4K all-I input because it's super sampled from 5.7K, but you know, people are crazy. They do funny things sometimes. That's fine. One thing to note is if you, for example, take 5.7K raw, ProRes Raw, or even the 2K ProRes Raw, and you record that onto your Shogun Inferno and then convert that in FCPX from ProRes Raw to ProRes 4444, I'm missing a 4 here, you'll find that that automatically matches because ProRes 4444 is different from 422, specifies extended range data, full range video, so the Resolve automatically assumes it's full range and it matches. Now that is covering all of our basic raw and whatnot, but that's in the standard YRGB color space. Let's now have a look at using the ACES workflow. Now, I generally try and grade everything in ACES on the EVA1 because I just think it works really well. Very simple. Go to project settings, under color management you have the color science. Currently the standard is DaVinci YRGB. You've got DaVinci YRGB color managed. That's an alternate thing, which is a bit like Resolve's own version of ACES. If you want to explore it, you can. I'm not going to go into details here because I think it's a bit specific, but ACES is something that can be used by a lot of programs. It can be used by Nuke, and the whole point about ACES is that if you're dealing with compositors using Nuke or Scratch or whatever, that everyone is looking at the same data in the same way, and that there's parity across the programs post workflow. Anyway, the thing you need to do when you transfer over to ACES is you need to tell tell the ACES what you're inputting. So you need something called the input device transform, and that takes your camera files and it transforms like a lookup table. So all it is a lookup table, but the lookup table takes your like S-log or V-log or whatever footage and converts it to ACES color space. Now for the EVA1 we use the Panasonic V35 input device transform, and that'll make sure everything is how it expects. And then you also need an output device transform, so that tells you that basically converts all your color to whatever your display is. So Rec. 709 standard TV is RGB if you want to be set up for screens. You have P3, for cinema projection, so on and so forth. I mean, one bonus of this is it means you can like grade everything onto your Rec. 709 calibrated color monitor, but then if you need to produce a P3 for cinema distribution or to play at a festival or whatever, you can just go into the project, change the output device transform here to P3 and just whack out a delivery, and it should look good. And you have the option for HDR mastering. Anyway, one thing is you don't have to specify your input device transform. You can just do no input device transform and do separate ones for each camera in the on a clip level, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But there isn't any reason why you can't just have like whatever your most thing is and set as your standard device transform. And if you see that, it's basically like an instant LUT. It's just everything, I don't know, it just looks good. I like it. Very simple. And the other bonus I like about ACES is it makes making exposure adjustments pretty quickly. So for example, if I take a still, grab a still with my correct exposure, and I go over to my clip that is stop overexposed, and you go, oh bugger, that's not what I want to do. You can quickly A/B, and all you need to do to make exposure adjustments is just the offset. And bring it down. And there we go. And if we go to, if we go to full screen, there we go. Simple as that. Changing the exposure adjustment. Boom. Pretty much the same thing for minor exposure adjustments up and down. Just change the offset up and down, and you're away. There we go. So that's why one of the reasons why I like ACES is that, like I said, they just like grade. You whack on the IDT and you're halfway there already. Anyway, the thing we need to remember is even with ACES, you still need to make sure all your footage is consistent and color matched, and the gammas match and contrast is matching everything. So let's kind of bring the clip project back to everything and reset everything. So like we're imagining we're just starting up a new project. We have just imported everything into it. And the only difference is this time we're working ACES. So once again, if you get your ACES IDT, you can say you're in okay. All internal footage is fine. The ACES has already done the transform to Rec. 709, so your whites are very white and your blacks are very black. Raw is also doing it perfectly. It doesn't actually debayer into V-log, it actually debayers directly into ACES when you're dealing with CD and G, which is a nice feature. You don't have to do anything. What you'll find is, for fuck's sake, why has this not changed it? Full. Sorry. But what you'll find is if you record video to ProRes, once again you still have the issues, the gamma issues with ProRes once it automatically comes in. So you need to go to clip attributes full. Once you've done that, you'll find it matches again. Same with DNX. You need to go in, go to full, change your clip attributes from auto to full, and your match again. Now the issue you're going to have is the raw to ProRes. Yep, okay, that one's actually right. But what you're going to find is the raw to ProRes is still going to be a problem, because you're still dealing with that panorama gamma, which is not correct. And you might decide to go, okay, fine, so I know what to do here. I need to go into clip attributes, and I need to go to full, and I need to apply the panorama LUT. I'll go in and apply the panorama LUT, and if you do that, you are going to have another, oh, what the frigging hell has gone wrong now moment. And that's because the main issue is that this LUT doesn't work in ACES color space. This or ACES gamma. This LUT is designed for Rec 709 gamma. So you have to take your and your timeline, every clip here has been converted into ACES. It is no longer in Rec 709. All the internal processing is done in the ACES gamma and color space. So what you need to do is you need to convert, before you apply the LUT, you need to convert all your color data to Rec 709, and then apply the LUT, and then convert it back out again to ACES. It's a bit of an involved process. Step 1, change your ACES device transform from whatever it is. You might have had it as no input transform if you've got a whole bunch of different cameras, or you might have had it as Panasonic V35. Oh, shit, actually. It's no great. Start again. So once again, it matches now. The problem you're going to have is, once again, when you go to RAW, the RAW to ProRes, you can see, once again, the gamma is all wrong. Everything is wrong. And you might think, oh, okay, well, I know what I need to do. I need to go into clip attributes, and I need to go to full, and I need to go apply my lookup table, and then it will all my panorama to vlog lookup table, and then it will look right. Oh no, it doesn't. In fact, it looks awful. It looks really bad because all the blacks are crashing, the whites are crashing, everything is wrong. What the hell's gone wrong? And the simple answer is that what you're processing now is that this LUT here that you've just applied expects a Rec 709 curve. You know, it's like vlog mapped onto Rec 709, but it expects Rec 709 in, and it's not getting that because you're working in ACES. So the ACES device input device transform has taken your original camera file and converted the gamma and the gamut to ACES linear, gamma, and ACES gamut. And you need to, before you apply the LUT, you need to convert it back into Rec 709, and then from there you need to convert it back out to ACES. Now step 1 is to take your ACES device transform and change it from either whatever you preset in your camera settings, Panasonic V35 or no input device transform if you didn't specify and stuff, and you need to take it to Rec 709. Not Rec 709 camera, not Rec 709 DSIM, Rec 709. That's step 1. Step 2 is you then need to use a color space transform, specifically ACES transform, and you need to tell it what your input is, and your input is not actually the ACES, it is ACES SSC, because that's the gamma. And you need to tell it your output, and your output will be Rec 709. And you might think, well, hang on, didn't I do the Rec 709 IDT? And you're like, no, that didn't make it a Rec 709. That took what was theoretically a Rec 709 source and converted it into ACES. This ACES transfer here then takes that ACES file and converts it back into Rec 709. So you can apply the LUT in your second node. We applied it here. And then you need to do another ACES transform and take that output of that LUT, which is not Rec 709, because the LUT has taken your panorama Rec 709-ish thing and converted it into Panasonic. So you take it into Panasonic and you convert it back out to ACES SSC. And finally, you have to make sure your clip attributes are full, and they are. And now I have to work out what is wrong here. This is SSC, it's Rec 709. Why is it not working now? Oh, it's always something. we forgot to change. This is what happens if you don't change the IDT. And there, finally, we've got it again. So remember, problem with Raw to ProRes is when working in ACES is you have to get everything right. If you get one thing wrong, it looks wrong. If you get your clip attributes wrong and you leave it auto, it won't match. And stuff is clipped and you lose information. So you need to make sure your clip attributes are correct. If you get your first transfer wrong, say you use ACES, so ACES SSE, it will come in wrong. If you do your last one wrong and you think, it's Rec 709 now, it's wrong because you've converted it to Panasonic. And if you once again forget to do the ACES, then it goes wrong. ACES SSE. And finally, if you get the wrong input device transform, actually you can, looks like you can use that. Or whatever, but you know, if you have no input device transform, or if you forgot to change it from Panasonic V35, wherever that is, under the P's, it will be wrong. Everything has to be perfect. But once you have got everything perfect, it does match. It does match. Everything matches. Everything matches. And if you burn your LUT in, it makes the life a lot easier, because then, as you'll see, all you really need to do is your clip attributes, change them to full, and then they'll match. This one doesn't match because it hasn't had any of the transforms done yet. Yep. As I said before, ProRes 444 works. So that is everything in correct in Resolve, apart from this one clip that I think probably has the right clip attributes, because that looks about right. Is that right? Yep. Clip attributes are full, but currently has the wrong ACES transform. Oh no, it has the correct ACES transform, so that was worth checking, but it doesn't have the transforms in. So 709. And it doesn't have the transforms out from Panasonic V35. So ACES SSC, and it doesn't have the LUT. But once it does, everything is how it should be. And that is Workflow in DaVinci Resolve. Now, let's move on to Adobe Premiere. Okay, so welcome to Adobe Premiere Pro. As I'm sure you're aware, the Pro in Premiere stands for problems, and we're going to be presenting with plenty of problems in this one, as it's good to its word. But anyway, let's start off with a nice internal file, and once again, the first thing you need to do is apply some form of lookup table to it. You can't do ACES in Premiere yet, so that makes things easier, but you do have LUTs, so here we go. Let's just take the standard V79 LUT. There we go, and everything looks good, and it works. But as before, you're going to find that if you take ProRes Raw 444, or ProRes 444, if you convert the Raw, and with the internal will match. But as with Resolve, you'll find the gammas don't match for anything recorded externally from HDMI or SDMI as video to ProRes. So in Resolve, we were able to change the way the Resolve did the color processing. So it took the legal video range and took it into extended video range. In Premiere, there's not an option. Everything done in Premiere is in legal video, as far as I'm aware. So what you need to do is you need to apply a LUT that will take this this wrong gamma that you have and correct it back to full range video. And luckily the Premiere provider, under Lumetri presets, you'll find technical. There's a submenu for technical LUTs, and you want full to legal. And if you do that, if you drop that technical LUT, full to legal 10-bit, using your 10-bit footage, you'll find it matches. And once again, same issue with Avid DNX, but just drop on full to legal range 10-bit, and it matches. So far so good, but obviously Adobe Premiere problems would not be living up to its name if it didn't present further problems. And it is the good old raw panel raw to ProRes issue. And you might think, okay, so what do I need to do? I just need to apply my panel raw LUT, right? So I just take my panel raw LUT and put it on, and then, oh, that doesn't look right. What the hell? What's going on here? Why everything's crushed again? I've got the crushed blacks and everything looks weird, and the whites are crushed. Issue is, once again, it expects the full legal range, so you have to drop on the LUT. But you put on your 10-bit LUT, and it still doesn't look right. And that is because order of operations is important here. And the important thing is if you drop it on the full to 10-bit range LUT second, you'll find out that the Rec 709, the panel raw LUT is applied first. And that's not right. You need to first convert to full legal range, i.e. you have to have the 4 to 10-bit range LUT on top of the panel raw LUT. So it's very important that you make sure that you apply it in the right order. And if you do, everything matches, as you can see on the scopes. Everything matches. But if you have your LUTs in the wrong order, if you apply your panel raw LUT first, you won't match. And of course, once you apply your panel raw LUT, you then can add yet another LUT, which could be your it can be your it can be your creative LUT. So let's just take this LUT from this one. I'm afraid I'm not so good with. We know this is a LUT. Where's our raw crop? So should we just? That's one that's correct. Yeah. So if we just apply our panel raw LUT to there, you should see. I don't know why. Yeah. Lord knows why that's not working. Oh, hang on. Of course, let's apply it to that one. There we go. Bonk. There we go. Sorry, so that's correct there. Look to what should be Rec 709, and if we apply it to that one, then in our cascade of LUTs, we have our technical one, and then our panel one, and finally we have the, our 709 LUT at the end. Then at least the gammas match. Color looks to be slightly funky. I'm not sure what that is. It might be because we're using a specific 709. The specific color Rec 709 ones. But anyway, at least your gamma is in the right place. After that, you just have to do a white balance. And there is that. I'm trying to think, was there anything else we need to do? Oh yeah. Anyway, and that's how you correct back in. Again, if you're using the panel raw LUT, all you need to do is throw on the legal to 10-bit range, and it'll match the internal. It does seem to be throwing in some strange color shifts. Premiere, I'm not entirely sure why, but that might just be a Premiere thing. Oh, the joys of Premiere. You can, one thing about Premiere is you can actually add in CD and Gs, but the color, as you can see, the gamma is all completely freaking wrong, and I have literally no idea how to correct that. So have fun with that. I would probably recommend you don't use CD and G. Anyway, that is basic workflow for Adobe Premiere. Pretty simple. Anything with ProRes or recorded directly as ProRes or recorded as ProRes at all. Avid or Avid DNX. The absolute first thing you need to do is drop on that for technical LUT, the 4 to legal 10-bit range, and then if you're using any raw to ProRes, you need to drop on your panel raw LUT afterwards. Never entirely sure how you add another LUT. I guess maybe you can copy and then paste, change that, and just change browse to whatever your other LUTs. Assume it's 565. Yeah, there we go. Ah, yeah, it's interesting. Looks like if you pick slightly different LUTs, you will get different colors. So it looks like it is, at least with this one, it's maybe worth picking the right color temperature, or maybe not. Anyway, that's Premiere. Moving on to FCPX. As I'm sure everyone knows, the FCPX, or Final Cut Pro X, the Pro in Final Cut Pro X stands for problems, and the X obviously stands for extreme. So extreme problems, as we'll be getting on to. But first off, if you happen to throw in your footage, a very quick and simple way to get graded is to just throw on the standard LUT. If you click on the inspector for the clip, which you can either do there or in the media panel, click on it, go to the inspector. I'll go to the inspector here. If you go down here and you go to settings, you will find a setting called the camera LUT, and understand it, Panasonic Relog. That gives you pretty much a good starting point. Although if you happen to like using some other LUTs, you can add in a custom LUT by going to effects, and you drop a custom LUT on there, and you can when you click on the field, you can find a bunch of kind of LUTs. So for example, I've already downloaded the nicest one. Obviously, if you're doing that, you need to turn off the original LUT. But there we go. That's the nicest 709 LUT, and that's the standard Panasonic one. Lots of basic options. We're going to come back to that in a while later on. But obviously, as before, the main issue you want to make sure is that everything is matching as before. Stuff that is converted from ProRes Raw to actually, this here, right here, this is actually straight ProRes. This is an actual ProRes Raw file, and the nice thing is, it matches perfectly. In fact, if you go to the inspector, you'll see why. It's got the raw to log conversion, takes it to Panasonic Vlog, and if you put on, you can even throw on the LUT straight away, the standard LUT, and it will match the internal files perfectly, although it looks pretty ugly. But as I said, bonus of ProRes Raw, ProRes Raw matches automatically. Stuff converted to ProRes 444. If you happen to batch convert from ProRes Raw to ProRes 444, do some editing or whatever, bring it back in, then you'll get it. First problem number one, CDNG just doesn't work. It wouldn't be Final Cut Problems Extreme without it. Mostly it just seems to give me this lovely shade of green. Now, let's move on. Standard video, HDMI to ProRes. ProRes is obviously Apple's own standard, so you'd think Apple's own edit system will be able to deal with log profiles recorded in their own video format, but no. Obviously, the standard says that it's all legal video, and FCPX will absolutely stick with that to its dying day. So, problem. How do we convert our ProRes file, which is treated as legal range video, to the full extended range video to match? Now, Resolve, we could just change the setting, the video data from auto, or what actually was video settings, to full. And in Adobe Premiere, we could apply the technical LUT, 10-bit, the full to 10-bit LUT. Neither of those options are available in Premiere Pro. In fact, what you have to do is apply a custom LUT, and it has to be a specific one. It has to be one designed to convert to log. And the one I found is this one called Cinema 5D S-Log Fix. And as you see, it pretty much matches. It's what you can download for here. It costs you $4 or more if you want to pay more, but you download it, add it in under your custom LUT. You can just choose custom LUT, and it'll bring up a dialog box, and you go to where you've saved it, and that will correct your Atomos ProRes. Now, obviously, once again we have the problems with the 4K RAW. Now, you might think, if you're not thinking right, it's as simple as applying a panorama, but obviously if you do that, it is wrong. You might think, I need to correct for the S-Log Fix. Do that? It's wrong, because once again, as with Premiere, order of operations is important. You need to make sure your S-Log Fix LUT is on before the panorama LUT. If you do that, it will match. If you have them the wrong way around, it will not, and you will have horrible looking footage with crushed blacks and crushed whites, as you can see up here, and everything being wrong, and you'll be upset and you'll cry. So make sure you get them in the right order. But don't forget, the problem with doing this is you are no longer able to apply the standard vlog LUT. If you do that, to your HDMI to ProRes, you'll find it doesn't match. Why? Order of operations. You cannot use the inbuilt camera LUT. You have to use another LUT to correct to 709, like the nicest 709, which unfortunately means obviously you cannot use the camera LUT on any of your footage. You'll have to use the same correct 709 conversion LUT on everything if you want it to match, using the custom LUT FX. And once again, you'll find order of operations is important. If you don't correct your legal, if you don't have your Cinema 5D S-Log Fix, if you don't correct from legal to from extended to legal first, it won't match. And once again, order of operations is important in the cascade of LUTs that is required when dealing with panorama footage. You need to make sure your 709 LUT comes last. So, correct extended to legal, Cinema 5D, then correct panorama to vlog with your second LUT in the sequence, then finally correct to 709 from vlog in your final one. And yep, and I think, is there anything else? Oh yes, of course. If you're applying the panorama LUT internally in camera, you of course still need to correct Cinema 5D. Correct the extended to legal and use your choicest Rec 709 conversion LUT to make everything match. There we go, and that is color correction in Final Cut Problems Extreme FCPX. One thing I wanted to do quickly was, another thing I wanted to show you was how to process stuff that you've shot as ProRes Raw into ProRes, standard ProRes, so you can save it to other programs in case you don't want to be dealing with Final Cut Problems Extreme, or rather deal with it as little as possible. So it's pretty simple. I've got two clips here that were recorded as ProRes Raw. As you can see, ProRes Raw HQ. One of them is 2K, one of them is, no, one of them is 4K, one is 5.7K. And all you need to do is get all your clips, go to your inspector, make sure you're on the settings tab. You will automatically be on basic, but go down to settings, go to raw to log conversion, make sure your raw to log conversion is Panasonic VLOG, and make sure the camera lookup table is on none, and that will give you 2 ProRes Raw clips. Debay it as VLOG, select them here, File, Share 2 clips, Master File. Check your settings, you can go to ProRes 444, or you can go to any of them, you can go to 42, you can go to any of these things if you really want to. 444 means that you have less work to do. 42 is obviously substantially smaller. But then you hit next, then it's done. It will chunk away in the background. Oh yeah, share it wherever you want it to be. And yeah, it will chunk away in the background and batch process everything. And that really is all that is needed to share, to export your ProRes Raw to ProRes clips. Just make sure you remove the lookup table and set raw to log conversion before you export. Anyway, there we go. Have fun.